Good morning, Dan and Amy. We're waiting with bated breath, but not nearly bated breath as deeply as CNN with their countdown clock.
Well, just so you
to
know,
Jim Comey's testimony before Senate Intel today.
Well, countdown clock is zeroed out. Now they're doing their pregame show where they've got, the big dogs in, Wolf Blitzer, Anderson Cooper had to come in early today. They're doing the pregame show and then game on at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So at 9 a.m. Central time here, Mike Gallagher, our brother in sound, will be bringing you the James Comey testimony.
Well, I don't even know why Gloria Vanderbilt's kid came in today after that rhetorical beatdown he took from Alan Dershowitz yesterday. Dershowitz on the whole matter from Comey's opening statement that was released by the Senate Intel Committee yesterday, the whole matter of Flynn and Trump trying to influence Comey to drop the Flynn investigation, so Comey perceived. Here's what Dershowitz had to say in terms of the legality or illegality, even the possibility of illegality associated with what Comey said in his statement.
Well, first of all, let's look at the big constitutional picture. The president could have told Comey, you are commanded, directed to drop the prosecution against Flynn. The president has the right to do that. Comey acknowledges that. He says in the statement that historically, presidents have done that to the Justice Department. But in the last few years, we've had a tradition of separation. But that tradition doesn't create crime. And remember also what the president could have done. He could have said to Comey, stop this investigation. I am now pardoning Flynn. That's what President Bush did. In the beginning of the investigation of Casper Weinberger, which could have led back to the White House to the first President Bush, on the eve of the trial, pardoned Casper Weinberger, pardoned 6 people, and Special Counsel Walsh said this is outrageous. He's stopping the investigation. Nobody talked about obstruction of justice. You cannot have obstruction of justice when the president exercises his constitutional authority to pardon, his constitutional authority to fire the director of the FBI, or his constitutional authority to tell the director of the FBI who to prosecute, who not to prosecute. So let's get out of the weeds and let's look at the big
But then let me just ask you.
Yeah. Any questions? So I want to get to Jim Comey or E.L. James because that's the fun part of this, and it's not easy to distinguish between the two. So let's just summarize here. So you just heard Dershowitz on the Flynn matter. Right. Yesterday you heard from both NSA Director Rogers and DNI Coates. Neither one of them ever pressured, ever interfered with, ever was it ever suggested to them they do anything illegal, immoral, or otherwise incorrect. Okay, so they're off the board. The loyalty issue, which was reported a month ago by the New York Times, an anonymously source. It's included in Comey's statement, demanding, not Trump demanding, asking, will you be loyal to me? He's not even demanding it. Not a legal issue. You can say, as Paul Ryan did yesterday, it was inappropriate, but it's not a legal issue, it's a political issue.
Is it appropriate for the president to ask for a question of loyalty for the FBI director?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously I don't think that is. I think Director Comey will probably get a lot of questions about that tomorrow, would be my guess. But I don't think that that's new. I think that...
Right. And by the way, Greta Van Susteren is still on the air.
Yeah, you didn't know, did
Who
you?
knew?
But a lot of people think
so there's that.
Yeah, okay.
What else is left? Oh.
Well, lifting the cloud. Some people see that's the I gotcha moment where, he did 3 times. So they met in person 3 times, talked on the phone 6 times. And on the phone once and in person once to, quote unquote, let it go or, quote unquote, lift the cloud. I mean, but it wasn't lift the cloud.
You just heard Alan Dershowitz say he could command him. And he obviously stopped well short of that in Comey's own words. And by the way, in previous testimony before Congress from Comey, from Deputy Director of the FBI, and now Acting Director Andy McCabe. I mean, there's just no there here, at least not with respect to President Trump, who, in addition to that, speaking of 3 times, in a very kind of biblical sense, Comey in his opening statement references 3 times in which he told Tangerine Jesus that he is not a target of the Russian probe.
Okay, but what about him asking Comey to lift the cloud or
what did I,
to let this go? Yes.
What?
No, on the investigation of Michael Flynn, not President Trump.
Did you just hear Alan Dershowitz?
Yes, I just heard Alan
He could have
Dershowitz.
pardoned him. He didn't. He could have told Comey, you shall not, or you shall. He didn't. So lift the cloud, this kind of generic, loosey-goosey language, political, not a legal issue. This is not close.
Then why is the left celebrating? I mean,
because they have all of their eggs in this political basket. What do you think they're going to do?
why are they having watch parties?
No matter what Jim Comey said, well, first of all, they're not making any distinction between legal and political.
Right.
Number one. Number two, no matter what Jim Comey says, if Trump, as Paul Ryan said, it was inappropriate for him to do it. Inappropriate to them is impeachment, which is absurd. It's childlike.
They're living on. Yep.
And so no matter what is said, they are going to cling to something that is offered by Comey while he's doing his reputation management, because they need to continue this narrative of, Trump is in bed with the Russians, no justice, no peace, Maxine, and Al Green from Texas, and all of the other hysterics of the left that think they're going to take this president out through an impeachment proceeding. So no matter what is said, they will spin it to continue this narrative, and Comey's testimony in and of itself continues the story. And here's the other thing. So long, and this is a cautionary note for Trump, so long as Trump and his team are substantially engaged in this topic, there's an opportunity cost to be paid with respect to engaging on topics like tax reform and Obamacare replacement, and the FBI focusing on things like interdicting terrorist activity in this country, and vetting refugees coming to this country, and the like. So, yes, you can do more than one thing at the same time, but you can't do everything with the same resource allocation, the same attention at the same time. And so this is a distraction, particularly for the president.
But it's a good read. I mean, this 7-page memo that he put out. Well,
don't say which it's from. This is either E.L. James or Jim Comey. We're not going to tell you which. We'll take your calls and you guess which. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You read a passage from either 50 Shades of Grey or Comey's opening statement. I don't know which, and I will as well.
Okay. Do we do this now or after the break?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go.
Well, this is it. Well, it's kind of give it away because this is about the dinner that they had planned in the
dinner. Who had planned? Sebastian and Anastasia?
No, I got a call at lunchtime that day, and he invited me to dinner, saying he was going to invite my whole family, but said this time it's just going to be you. While at dinner, we talked about loyalty. Yeah. He said to me, leaned over the dinner plate,
tense.
The candles lit, and said, I need loyalty. I expect loyalty. I didn't move, speak, or change my facial expressions in any way during the awkward silence that followed. Yeah. We simply gazed, looked into each other.
Yeah, you did.
In silence. The conversation then moved on, but later returned to the subject near the end of the dinner. At that point, I leaned over and said, I will be honest, loyalty.
Can I pick it up from there? He sighs, slides in beside me, and pulls me into his arms. Careful not to touch my stinging behind. We are spooning again. He kisses me softly beside my ear. What do you think?
I think I could continue. Our last phone call, our last conversation. Well, this might give it away.
Why don't you like to be touched, I whisper, staring up in his soft gray eyes. His arms wrapped around me, and he's pulling me to him hard, fast, gripping my ponytail to tilt my head up, kissing me like his life depends on it.
He said, lift the cloud. The cloud is making it hard for me to do my job. Oh. He said, I've been loyal to you, very loyal. We have that thing, you know.
That thing. I know that thing.
I said only that the way to handle it was to have someone else intervene. He said that was what we could do. The call ended, and that was the last time.
The shock runs through me, and it's the sweetest, strangest, hedonistic feeling. My body convulses at the sweet, stinging bite. My nipples harden and elongate from the assault. And I moan loudly. I mean, honestly, I don't know which is which. I removed the titles of the two documents, and I can't distinguish between Comey and E.L. James.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer